Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out to come to the session today that I'm going to be talking to you through some analytics use cases on things that Tredence, who I represent for, I co-lead the MarTech and AdTech Tower at Tredence. We're an AI and analytics firm. My name is Dio Favatas, and I'm head of Identity Solutions and Marketing Clouds. Marketing Clouds is a nuanced name, but really it's all CDPs and then the underlying spokes in a hub and spoke model in MarTech. I'm responsible for those. I wanted to just kind of kick off by saying, like, why is Tredence here today? Why have we participated in CDP World? What's going to be coming out in a more public capacity here in the next few weeks, worst case maybe next month, is that we're engaged in a tri-party initiative with Treasure Data and AWS. And it's going to be a unique to market solution all on Tredence's AI and analytics capabilities, along with the power workhouse, the powering capabilities that Treasure Data has on AI and segmentation and identity. And so we're going to actually have a go-to-market initiative to actually bring in new acquisition for Treasure Data, but also to have Tredence be the AI and analytics partner on top of AWS services powering future implementations of Treasure. So that being said, I'm going to go into like an analytics use case here, but before we do that, I want to kind of level set and get some kind of baselines here. How many people here have ever been involved in advertising, media mix modeling, or any type of analytics around media, paid media? Thank goodness. So at least for half of you, this will make sense. How many people here have ever come into contact or have had use cases of doing their analytics on a clean room environment? Okay, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of work of explaining that one. Last but not least, has anyone here done any work with Amazon Ads or the Amazon Marketing Cloud? Okay, so I'm going to start with the last one first so that this has some contextual grounding, but Amazon advertising is the fastest growing ad platform in the world right now. So we typically have thought of Google and Facebook being the heavyweight media platforms out there. It's actually Amazon that's the fastest growing, and it's going to be probably the #1 advertising platform in the next 2 to 3 years. And they've built this upon their Prime Video service as well as Amazon.com and the acquisition of Whole Foods, Twitch, Audible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and world domination by Jeff Bezos. So that being said, we do a lot of work in retail and CPG. In the CPG world, Amazon Ads actually is a very, very established advertising platform because most CPGs typically are considered data poor, right? Data poor because they don't actually own the physical storefront. And if you can actually run your advertisements in conjunction with your Prime store, so if you ever go on to Amazon.com and type in, for instance, DiGiorno pizza, you will see how expansive Nestle has a physical shopping presence on not only .com, but also on Fresh and on Whole Foods, right? So when you actually run an advertisement on Amazon Ads, you have a thing called an ASIN. And an ASIN really is a SKU. It's literally the product that's tied to your advertisement. And what you can end up doing is you can run advanced analytics to get down to the level of detail of a true conversion, meaning somebody put the pizza in the cart and then they checked out and they actually bought it and the share of wallet they've actually attained. The thing is, with Amazon, with Google, with Meta, with TikTok, with Snapchat, with Pinterest, with Roku, with Disney, with NBCU, and the list goes on, you can no longer do media analytics in a very traditional way. You actually have to use a clean room and able to actually do your media measurement and analysis, because these are platforms that no longer want to expose any user data outside of their network. And it's not for selfish purposes. It really is in the vein of privacy and in compliance and all the privacy laws that have come forward. That being said, we have clients that have come to us, and this is the thing I'm about to show you is we have clients that come to us and they basically are like, I'm trying to figure out how to go from MMM 1.0 to MMM 2.0, MTA 1.0 to MTA 2.0. What does that mean? Because I just went real fast, right? It used to be in the old world when you actually had exposure data that you could actually touch and physically have user IDs, or even when you were doing traditional TV planning. Come to think, honestly guys, 2024 is the first time in history that linear TV has been unseated as a major ad vehicle. It only makes up 22% of ad sales today. So all that advertising that brands buy are through a connected pipe of means, right? So it's got a digital identifier associated with it. And so back in the day, agencies, advertisers, and brands alike, they had a much easier way of doing their analysis because they would use DMA, DMA spread, total number of exposures in certain markets, daytime, day parts like late night fringe, early morning, broadcast hour, so on and so forth. Well, now that's been completely thrown upside down. So brands that want to figure out how they should actually do their media analysis are really at a loss because most people haven't worked in a clean room before. So what we've actually produced is we've produced an accelerated capability, in this case specifically for the Amazon Marketing Cloud, but it's very transferable to just about any other ad network that relies on a data clean room to help our brands uncover where are valuable segments that they should be investing their money into and how they can optimize their media journey. So if we think of cost of acquisition, so our y-axis here is cost per acquisition, and then our y-axis here is LTV, lifetime value, against cost per acquisition. What we're really trying to help brands say is, by and large, when you're doing traditional media planning, most of your media exposure tends to fall on these people. These are the people that, if you're Coca-Cola, these are people that aren't drinking anything but Diet Coke or Coca-Cola, right? So it's really hard to extract new value out of somebody who's already a loyalist, right? But the question becomes, most brands don't realize this until they actually go and do the underlying analysis and saying like, well, where are my opportunities? Where should I actually be trying to drive my media towards so that I can get new acquisition, but do so in a more cost-effective manner? Do you want to be going out to constant switchers over here? Probably not. Really expensive, low likelihood you're going to acquire them because these are people who have no brand affinity whatsoever. On the same note, some might say, hey, experimenter seems interesting, but again, it's a pretty high cost of acquisition to get those into the funnel. So we would probably want to look at the experiential value seekers. They seem like a prime target for me to go after, but I need to know more about this group and this segment of the population. So as we broke down this analysis for the CPG client, what we ended up coming out to is saying, look at all of these micro cohorts, micro segments that are clustering around where my media exposure is and how I've actually gotten these people to convert and buy on Amazon.com, on Fresh, on Whole Foods. And as we look at this now, we kind of want to say here, the further off that I am to the top right-hand quadrant, these are probably the micro segments that I want to lean into because I have the greatest chance of acquiring them at the lowest cost possible and moving them above the fold so they become now my new lifetime value prospects and customers. So in this case, we were very interested in breaking, so this was all done by, we did k-means clustering, advanced AI, segmentation. What we want to do with Treasure Data and the tri-party is actually bring this advanced measurement use case to Treasure. Treasure was the very first CDP that leaned into the Amazon Marketing Cloud. I think a lot of your salespeople have kind of struggled to find where's the value for you as salespeople. Well, really your value is where's the growth in advertising and how you can end up further monetizing this. We really believe this future of measurement use case sitting as a capability enabled in Treasure Data is a great unlock, an opportunity downstream for us as our partnership grows. So we want to learn more about these cohorts because imagine if I'm bringing these signals in and I can actually connect that into my customer data in some way, shape, or form, now I can actually enrich a customer data profile and say, how do I optimize a multi-channel journey with the CDP, right? So we're now taking a paid media use case and example and applying it to more of a traditional CDP example, right? So when we dived into cohort 3 over here, what did we see? We saw an over-indexing on Gen Z, right? And people that are probably early in their careers, or maybe they don't have a lot of education in that, right? Because their income's lower on the it aligns pretty well with their age group. But we wanted to actually dig in and see further, like what are some of those real salient characteristics about these audiences? And this is one of the interesting things about the Amazon Marketing Cloud is you can actually break down all the IAB attributes from your standard type stuff like standard demographic all the way down to the deep psychographic, sociographics that actually help you build a real pattern analysis of those discrete populations you want to target in your paid media. And what we learned is, okay, so here are some interesting patterns, right? Cohort 3 tend to index pretty high on travel enthusiasm, also very inclined on their own personal physique and how they appear to the outside world, high fitness interest. They like to game. Does it tell us a lot about how heavy their interest is? Well, no, but you know, they're somewhere in here, they're doing a lot of digital, there's some digital patterns in the footprints in here. But when we break down their in-market segments, what do we see index heavily? Consumer electronics and car rentals. And we start to make inferential patterns here and say, okay, that's a travel enthusiast and they do a lot of car rentals, but they also like a lot of hotels. Maybe these are the kind of people that actually like to take journeys. They actually want to hit the road. They want to experience the travel because they're really into it, right? And experience that all along the way. Maybe that associates why is there a high ebook. If you're going out with your friends and you're doing a cross-country trip, maybe I'm reading a lot in the whole process. And so this starts to give us really good salient characteristics so that we can do the next level of media mix analysis and say, how do I lean into this particular cohort? But last but not least, we also want to know that geographic distribution and where are we actually seeing the most penetration. And in this case, we see that Texas is a high performing region for this particular cohort. And in future and subsequent analysis, what we actually did for this client is we broke down the geographic pattern into discrete DMAs. Texas is a big state, multiple DMAs in Texas alone, so we would want to see where those hotspots. Sure enough, what came out as an emerging pattern were the big cities like Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, where you tend to have more bluer, young professional populations, right? So now we wanted to see a comparison of cohort 3 against cohort 15 and see if there are similarities. Well, sure enough, again, we see a high indexing of Gen Z, pretty much all of the population's Gen Z in this one. And again, a very similar income distribution as cohort 3. So that doesn't tell us enough though. Are these the same people or are they not, right? Well, when we went back and we drove into like the lifestyle interest, again, you see a high sense of e-reader. So there's a commonality going along with this Gen Z population across these two cohorts. So some similarities, but really big difference is you see heavy gaming, heavy streaming, right? So that basically is a very digital connected individual who's probably out there playing a lot of Twitch or watching a lot of Twitch or playing a lot of video games, right? But we also see that these are groups that like to travel a lot too. So when we pop over to the in-market segments, what are we seeing? Again, high penetration in consumer electronics, lower affinity on personal care, but lots of snacking consumption. And interestingly enough, these folks really are big on airlines. So probably want to get to where they're going to and enjoy the experience on the ground as opposed to experiencing the travel experience, right? And last but not least, as we go and see the geographic dispersion, high penetration in the state of Texas again. A lot of value from our customers here. And essentially, why is this kind of analysis capability really important? Think of think of how, as a media planner, as an advertiser, you now have the salient characteristics to actually optimize media on the fly, right? I can change my segments and I can go micro segment and basically go after a population of people that I can convert into a high net worth, a high lifetime value customer. And the interesting part too is since there are overlapping characteristics between cohort 3 and cohort 15, there's a use case to say that I can actually get a more effective spread of my media where there's overlapping characteristics, and then I'll go off and do creative testing for the different populations based off of those characteristics like heavy streaming, heavy gaming, gonna dial in over there for one group versus the other group that likes to hit the road and take it nice and slow with their rental cars. So from that standpoint, what I'm showing you right here is actually in a Figma, but this was a real live exercise that we've done. We've built an accelerator for this. So we've actually found a lot of interest from our clients in the CPG sector, but increasingly now more and more in the banking and financial services industry, as Amazon has actually become a really big advertising vehicle for off-Amazon, offline acquisition. And these are the kinds of unlocks that we seek to bring to our brands, and we want to bring that into the fold in the Treasure Data platform. And that's my spiel. So, is there any questions? Anything that, like, I was kind of quick, but I was only time gated to 15 minutes, and I did it in exactly 15 minutes. So.
But any questions, comments, thoughts?
May I just confirm, what is the basis of all the cohort? Is it like the audience that you upload to Amazon Marketing Cloud?
Well, so the interesting part about Amazon ads is you can actually go and buy Amazon customers to layer on your advertising. So since they have the largest consumer base and a digital footprint, you can actually pick pre-curated Amazon cohorts and just buy in and dial in. But you can actually bring in your offline data signals. So this is where we see your current integration capabilities with AMC and more advanced use cases that we can lean in on. You can actually bring in the customer data from the CDP and load it right into Amazon ads. So if you've got certain populations you already know do really well with email, SMS, maybe other publisher platforms like the Trade Desk, et cetera, you can actually bring those audiences directly into Amazon ads, create those segments in there, run the advertisements, but then take advantage of the fact that they have so many rich characteristics on the shopping population within Amazon. Yep. Pardon? Geographic restrictions, I mean, the work that we do is North America, but Amazon Ads is a global capability. So, thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate it.